Fan of the Slinky? If so, I'm not even going to pretend that I know how to pronounce that, but Dunkleosteus? Now I must tell you, if you are a friend of the Peace Pipes, they have quite the selection. Could be a Dunkleosteus. I wanted to let you guys in on a little secret. One of the main reasons why we were here is to pick up our new RV for the channel, the Dunkleosteus. Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're new, my name's Chris and we're glad you came along for the adventure today. Today we are spending some time in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania and visiting the Pennsylvania State Museum. This is the only official museum in the state of Pennsylvania, and I think it's pretty cool. We have a lot of content that's going to be coming up. That I think this is kind of going to be a great segue into some of the videos that we're going to do discussing some of the history of Pennsylvania. So without further ado, let's get this adventure started. I'm going to put some information up here that's going to, give you a little bit more information about the history of this museum, and the different floors that are here. There's actually 3 floors that make up this museum, plus a planetarium. So I think it's going to be a pretty awesome adventure today. So without further ado, let's get it started. All right, well, as you can see, here we are on the first floor. This floor is more kind of dedicated to like the icons of Pennsylvania and some of the history of Pennsylvania. I believe the second floor of this exhibit is more so about the Civil War and some of the automobiles that were used in Pennsylvania. And then the third floor, we have a pretty cool surprise for you. But let's check out the first floor here. Here you can see some of the artifacts from the Native Americans. You can see some arrowheads, some of the jewelry that they wore, axe heads. This is pretty neat. There's a real big piece of pottery here that the Indians had used. Now you might have remembered in one of our last videos where we found a treasure from the Wandering Woodsman. That's right, today we are treasure hunters. What is that? That looks like a cave. 100%. This is it. Which, that treasure was the Indian Pass of Pennsylvania. So, we've said before, there will be some Indian content coming up. There will be some Native American content, rather, coming up on our channel here pretty soon. So, to see some of these artifacts was pretty neat, to say the least. It's pretty neat. You can see a fishing rod from the 1800s. Some of the flies that they use for fly fishing. Fun fact, here is the last native mountain lion known to have been shot in Pennsylvania. This was taken up at in Berks County at Hawk Mountain back in 1871. This here is a really awesome fun fact, which my honey can appreciate here. Just pointed out to me right here is the banana split. Now, if you are a fan of the banana split, the banana split was actually created in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. So if you like the banana split, it originated right here in Pennsylvania, in Latrobe, along with Rolling Rock, which is still present day, and is right over here. Are you a fan of the Slinky? If so, the Slinky debuted in 1945 in Philadelphia, where he sold 400 units within 90 minutes. Cannondale Bicycles originated in Pennsylvania, actually Bedford, Pennsylvania, and was founded in 1971. At the height of their production, this company made roughly, I want to say, 200 bicycles a day. And this actual bike was donated to the State Museum in 2023. In 2010, Cannondale actually became the last American bicycle company to outsource all of their production over to Asia. Here's another very interesting one. If you poop and you wipe your rear with Scott toilet paper, Scott tissue was originated in 1879 in Pennsylvania. Do you like pretzels? Now, pretzels did not completely originate here in Pennsylvania. They did originate back in the Middle Ages. However, Julius Sturgis is credited with opening the nation's first commercial bakery in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, back in 1861. This is a horse-drawn mail cart. That is really cool. So just imagine back in the day when you got your mail, that was the mail van. That's pretty sweet. Something else pretty neat about this buggy is these buggies were used between 1910 and the 1920s. This specific buggy that you see right here was used up until 1916 in Wyoming County, Pennsylvania. Here was your oil truck. Do you like outdoor kitchens? If so, Pennsylvania was your place that they were originated in. Here you can see a summer kitchen, which is a replica of what they would have used back in the early 1900s. And a lot of the places in the early 1900s had a separate kitchen on the outside of their house to be able to use in the summer months so it would keep their house cooler. An example of a general store from back in the day. And kind of just like a I guess you could say kind of like a town walkway. Here's an awesome 162-piece silver set called the USS Pennsylvania Silver. The J.E. Caldwell Company of Philadelphia crafted the silver in 1904 for use on an armored cruiser named for the state of Pennsylvania. It's roughly around 750 pounds of silver and a cost of $25,000 in the early 1900s. Couldn't imagine the value of that today. Here is an actual scale model of the USS Pennsylvania, in which the USS Pennsylvania silver was used on. It's a massive statue of William Penn. For size reference. And here we go up to floor number 2. The second floor is primarily constructed of the Civil War, anthropology, archaeology, industry, transportation, and the Pennsylvania Turnpike. I think it's pretty neat here. As soon as you walk into the room, you're greeted with this nice big exhibit, which would be kind of a representation of what an archaeological dig would have looked like, searching for artifacts of the Native Americans. So something really interesting that Maury just showed was here is a artifact timeline. Now you can see back in the Paleo-Indian era, they were finding a lot of arrowheads all the way up until I would say about the Middle Woodland. And that's modern. We can do better than that. Pick up your trash and let's find some cool stuff, not Coke cans for artifacts. Not cool. We saw some pretty neat examples of Native American pottery down on the first floor, but here on the second floor, they have a lot of different examples of pottery from the different tribes: Susquehannock tribe, Shanks Ferry tribe. As well as an old dugout canoe. I don't think I would fare so well in that canoe. As a matter of fact, I know I would not fare so well on that canoe. Now, I must tell you, if you are a friend of the peace pipes, they have quite the selection of peace pipes here. Now, of course, they're only used for tobacco. Get your mind out of the gutter there. One of the other awesome areas of the second floor is all the automobiles, airplanes, boats, you name it. And I wanted to let you guys in on a little secret. One of the main reasons why we were here is to pick up our new RV for the channel. That's a lie, but that is a pretty sweet camper. pretty sweet camper. I don't know if I would want to pull it with the Rabbit. Now, in one of our other videos back at Hershey Park, we took you down the turnpike. You should check it out.
We're gonna drive it like we stole it!
But here is an example of back in the 1940s of what the turnpike looked like. Now, the car that we drove in our other video was probably a little bit sweeter. Our chariot now has arrived than the Packard here, but this will do. I think it's pretty neat. They have a whole lot of information on the Pennsylvania Turnpike here, which really was America's first superhighway. They started building the turnpike back in 1938. Here you can see an example of one of the tunnels that you have to go through on the turnpike, which, you know, there are a lot of mountains in Pennsylvania, and they had to get a little creative when they had to dig those tunnels, because obviously you couldn't continue to go up and down all these mountains. So they had to make tunnels into the mountains using no other than TNT. Yes, that's right, TNT. It's dynamite.
Some TNT, I'm dynamite.
Here you can see some of the horse and buggies. Actually, these are carriages from like the mid-1800s. These things fascinate me. Now, in the wintertime, you had to get a little more creative other than just using a horse and buggy or horse-drawn carriage. Here is not Santa's sleigh, but a sleigh from the mid-1800s. Do you remember playing the Oregon Trail as you were a kid? Maybe now, maybe you still do, who knows? Here is an example of what they would have used back in the day. Now, I know today I wouldn't exactly enjoy driving from Pennsylvania all the way across the states to the West Coast in an automobile, let alone that. Let me know down in the comments, would you prefer a modern day automobile, or would you like the OG experience of traveling to the West Coast in a Conestoga wagon? Let me know down in the comments. It's a volunteer fire hand pumper. It's the firefighters would have used back in the late 1700s. Here you can see another one. This is from Sunbury. This one is a little more complex. This was used about 100 years later in the mid-1800s. And now we move on to floor number 3. Not even going to pretend that I know how to pronounce that, but that's what we're looking at. And that's what it looked like. Very big. It's kind of like a shark back in like the prehistoric era. Here you can see its size comparison to the modern fish. Dunkleosteus? Is that how you say it? Dunkleosteus? Comment down in the comments. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to hear you say it, but I'm curious how you pronounce it. A what? A Dunkleosteus? Could be a Dunkleosteus. But looks like they have been found up to like 27 feet in length. That's pretty big. It really kind of looks like a mixture of turtle, maybe like a carp, and a shark. Definitely unique. What do you think of the Dunkleosteostomus? Now we are heading to the planetarium. I promise you, this is out of this world.
Unfortunately, this is the one room where you're not allowed to take any photographs or video recording. It is part of Ursa Major, the Great Bear. Ursa means bear, Major means big. It would take us over 100,000 years to travel across the diameter. This would be our Milky Way galaxy.
All right, well, the planetarium was pretty cool. Now we're heading back out here. We're gonna check out some dinosaurs. Oh, it's a pretty big mouth. I don't think I'd want to get caught in that puppy. T-Rex. All right, well, remember earlier I told you we were going to see something that is pretty awesome? Here it is. This is pretty awesome, the Mastodon. This Mastodon that you see here is actually real. It was uncovered on July 5th in 1968 by a gentleman named John Leap, who was the owner and operator of the Lakeside Pete Hummus Company in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, and they accidentally snagged the skull on it while they were dragging a bucket through the peat. And that time, I don't think they actually knew what they were going to unearth, but here it is in all of its glory. They believe that at the time of death of the Mastodon that it was roughly right around 35 years old, and its live weight probably would have been roughly between 8 and 10,000 pounds. This thing is enormous. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's adventure. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, give it a big thumbs up down there. We had an awesome time hanging out at the Pennsylvania State Museum. If you ever have some time to kill and you're in and around the Harrisburg area, definitely check it out. The prices of admission, I'll throw up here if I can find them, but are very, very reasonable. It's right beside the capital, the state capital of Pennsylvania. So there's so much stuff to do right around that general area. But, you could easily blow away a couple hours in the museum just kind of meandering around and checking out all the cool things that they have in there. But like I said, that's going to wrap up this week's adventure. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.